I'm Mary Lytle, and I'm the Executive Director of Oklahoma Business Ethics Consortium. And it is a true joy to welcome each one of you here today. And I want to just thank the Board of Directors, my staff, which are mostly volunteer and friends and family, and members, and also guests. Thank you for coming and enjoying this. It is wonderful to have you here. Take a moment and look around the room. This is a venue filled with the very best of the best. And I am so deeply grateful for each one of you for the commitment that you have to show your ethical leadership in our state. Today marks our annual celebration recognizing outstanding individuals and nonprofits. Ethics and integrity matter now more than ever, in our workplace and in our personal lives and in our communities. For more than 20 years, Oklahoma Business Ethics has championed ethical practices, and we remain steadfast in our mission to educate and equip and inspire leaders across the state. We have an exceptional program today. Not only are we giving out our awards that we treasure, but also we have Shannon, Paula Shannon, founder and owner of the Whole Leader Lab. And Paula is an executive coach and leadership and a former senior educational leader with nearly 3 decades of experience. She doesn't look old enough to have 3 decades of experience at all. Yesterday we had the program in Oklahoma City, and I had so many wonderful compliments on her presentation. So I know you will have some wonderful takeaways and will be inspired. We are honored to have her. This message, I think, will resonate very deeply with each one of you. And now we're going to have our guiding principal, Aaron Catron, the owner and broker at Aaron Catron and Company. Aaron, would you like to come up and share a guiding principle? Yes, get up here. No, get up here. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Erin Catron of Aaron Catron and Company Real Estate, and I got invited here today, and honestly, this is an amazing room. I've already met some awesome people, and collaboration has been great already, so I am really looking forward to Paula and her speech, and I think it's going to be awesome. I want to talk a little bit about our guiding principle. When Mary was talking about inspiring leaders, that's actually the thing that I think is one of the most important things in our organization. And I was at dinner the other night. I had a senior in high school. It was his senior prom. And we went to dinner with our friends. And at the table, they said, Aaron, tell us a little bit, like, you must be really good at business. You must really know a lot of things about business and marketing and numbers and how to run things. And I actually said, I don't know. I'm probably not the best business person you're going to meet. But what I do know and what I do love is people. And I really feel like in our organization, what I have had the most joy from is equipping and teaching people to become leaders. And I'm going to share a quick story with you. And this just kind of reiterates, I think, how we as leaders in our organizations can inspire and bring up leaders that are able to go out and collaborate and really make a difference in other people's lives. So we're in real estate, and about 5 years ago, I had lunch with a friend, acquaintance. Our kids went to school together, and she said, can we have coffee? I said, sure. She said, I'm really thinking that I want to maybe get into interior design, and I was thinking that maybe that would be a good match for your business and my business, and maybe we could do some business together at some point. I said, I'd love that. That would be great. And as we talked about, just different things that were going on in our lives, she shared that she was kind of going through some things, and within a year, her life had completely changed. She found herself being from a 17-year stay-at-home mom into a position that actually prompted that she was gonna need to be the breadwinner for her family. She had 3 younger kids and was really scared, didn't know what she was gonna do. And so she ended up not going the interior design route. She joined our team as a real estate agent. And it's so amazing to see she is now on our leadership team. She is inspiring other people in our organization. She is equipping them, and more importantly, because of the love that she feels and because of the confidence that she has gained, she's one of our top producing agents, which is a byproduct, in my opinion, of her being able to have that confidence. And so that, to me, is what this is all about, is inspiring others, being able to love on them, equip them to be able to go out and inspire other people to do business well. Evan, you and I were just talking at the lunch line, and I said, I don't really know what I'm supposed to even be speaking about. And Mary gave me some really good bullet points, and I did not follow instructions very well, so I was like, oh gosh. But collaboration was on there, and as Evan and I were talking, it just made me feel like this is what this is all about. It's collaboration, it is doing the right thing, it is inspiring others, and the more that we can do that with each other in this room and outside of this room, I know that we can go and make a difference in other people's lives. The other thing about collaboration that I'll touch on really quickly is having great partners. And what we're here today doing is just a byproduct. We'll meet people. I've already met some really amazing people, and Chad and I were talking too, and I'm like, oh, that's something that I can definitely use in my business. Collaboration is huge. Using technology is huge. Collaborating with systems, collaborating with partners. We were talking about Teresa Rockwell at our table, and how when you're in a business like ours, your clients need to trust that you have people that you can refer them to that are going to be able to be trusted and that they know what they're doing. So at the end of the day, having all of this collaboration, equipping people, inspiring people so that they can go out and inspire others is really what I think this is all about. Hopefully, this is what I was supposed to talk about today. And hopefully it's something that you guys can take away and just be encouraged to go back into your businesses, reach out to the people across from you today, continue that collaboration, and continue to lift others up, because when we inspire people, they can go out and inspire other people. So hopefully that was good, and I don't know what to do now, so Mary, are you coming back up? Or, okay, you're coming, all right.
Good afternoon. I'm Lynn Flynn, and I'm on the board of directors for OK Ethics and a founding member. And I get to talk about somebody fun today, so this is nice. The Executive Pilot Award winner is Mr. Travis Jones. And the Executive Pilot Award is a very unique award because it is the only award chosen by the board of directors. And if you look in your program on page 6, I think, it lists our past Executive Pilot Award winners, and you'll see a very impressive list of people. And and of course, Travis fits in quite well with that. And this year, he is the person, he's been around here for nearly 2 decades. And you'll find his full bio in the program, so I'm not going to read that whole thing, but I am going to try to hit a few high spots and give you some personal insights. And for more than 30 years, Travis has led with conviction that people are worth the investment. And he's the CEO at Career Development Partners, and he's built a culture centered on helping individuals grow, contribute, and lead. His influence extends globally through Career Partners International, where he served on the board as a board member and an equity partner. Before CDP, some of you may remember Personnel Consultants. It got national recognition as one of the fastest growing companies privately held in America. And that's because people trusted him and because he invested in them. His impact on OK Ethics is just as significant. Travis has been involved for 18 years, 16 of those he's served on our board, and he's chaired the programs committee for many of those years. And I can personally attest that Travis has had a major impact on the outstanding programs that we've had over these years. Travis has seen us through highs and lows that any 18-year nonprofit's experience is going to get you. And he is truly one of the most positive, steady, and committed leaders we've ever had. And if you've ever been invited to this program, has anybody ever been invited to a program by Travis? Raise your hands. Yes, quite a few people. And that does not surprise me, because he's also one of the most welcoming people, and you know that he has such genuine enthusiasm for OK Ethics. It just radiates from him. Many of our members are here today because of Travis. On a personal note, Travis and his wife Marlene, who's sitting right here, they have been married since 1972, and they have 3 children, 12 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild, right? And there's big news. Some of you may or may not know this, but Travis will soon be celebrating his retirement from Career Development Partners. And if you'd like to congratulate him, they are going to have an open house on May the 1st from 9 to 11:30 at the CDP offices. If you want to have any more information on that, Josh is sitting right here. Raise your hand, Josh. And you can ask him any questions about it, but I know that Travis would love to have you all come by and see him. And we wish you so much success from that. I have no doubt, though, that retirement's not going to slow Travis down. He's going to still keep having a passion for investing in people. He's still going to come to some OK Ethics meetings, because he'll be in big trouble if he doesn't. And I know that Travis has impacted so many lives by his career. He's invested in those people, and those people are going to go forward and invest in other people, and your legacy is going to continue throughout time. And we're just so thrilled to give you this award, Travis. So come forward and let's show him some. Appreciate it. And Mary,
Look younger, thinner, whatever. Travis, it's an honor for Stephanie and I to give this to you today. This is your plaque, and it's just a little something for you to have. Thank you for all you do for Oklahoma, your family, and your friends. We love you, kids.
Thank you so much. I like that. I like that. Talk about our other speaker today, having 3 decades. I have 5.5 decades in the work, and I don't look that old, right? Of course, people don't ask me if I'm still working. They say, "How long you been retired?" And today is that day. Tomorrow will be my first day that I'm retired, and so I'm looking forward to that. Hey, thank you, everybody. I just want to thank the companies that have sponsored this organization. The way you bring your employees, the way you bring guests, that's what makes this organization great. We have a great board as well. I'm just proud of the companies that are there. If you take a look at what we have on the screen over here today, what do you see there? Compass. So I decided that today I was going to share with you 3 compasses in my life that have really impacted me and tie it to this organization as well. My parents met at Dallas County Jail in the 40s. My father was there as a student at Dallas Theological Seminary. My mother was a student from Dallas Bible College. My mother was singing, my dad was preaching, my mother fainted, my dad says, "That's the girl for me." He soon married my mother, and my sister, who's here today from Florida, Ruthie, and she's the oldest one in our family, oldest of the kids. She doesn't look it. Her husband, Jim Goldie, is a retired colonel in the Air Force, and so I was glad they could come in today. They hadn't planned to be here, so we're excited they're here. But I attended my dad's graduation from Dallas Seminary in 1951. Now, I don't remember that. I was only 4 or 5 days old at the most. But that was the kind of environment I was born into, a very spiritual family. My father not only was a pastor, but he was also a family practice physician like Lynn's mother in a little small town in Kansas. He had 6 children. My dad and mom, they would bring us down every morning. They'd read the Bible to us. They read the Old Testament once a year, the New Testament twice a year, and pray with us. My dad memorized the entire New Testament and repeated it every 2 weeks. He knew much of the Old Testament. That's the kind of legacy I came from. So my father and mother had a great impact in my spiritual life. One of the things my parents did is they prayed for my future wife when I was just a little boy. And God answered that prayer. My wife, Marlene, and I have been married 53 years, 8 months, and 25 days today. Someone mentioned 54 years, that comes in August. But I have the greatest wife in the world. Her parents were Bible translators from Mexico, where she was born. They raised her just like my parents did. What a gift. I'm so thankful. You mentioned earlier that I had 3 children. My kids had spiritual impact in my life. I remember one time we were on a trip, my son was in the back and you guys remember when we didn't have seatbelts? He was laying down in the back. We're going down the road and I got this sticky little cup in my hand. And I rolled down the window and flipped it out the window. My son came from the back of the car and he crawled up to the front. Hey Dad, what was that? I said, what was what? He said, what did you throw out the window? And I said, a cup. He said, say it again louder, Daddy, so we can all hear. The reason why is I taught the youth in our church and I always told them we don't litter from my car. Is that ethical? You know, my son, when he was only about 5 years old when he did that to me. But I will tell you that your children are watching everything you're doing. They're watching your ethics. They're watching what you say and what you do. I had a tremendous group of kids that in our family. My son-in-law here today is Tom Graney. He's the executive director at CEO at New Life Ranch. New Life Ranch has some people that have come to our meetings here and now they're actively involved. New Life Ranch has had an impact in my life. Impacted many of the youth that I taught, those kids, and so it's a great organization. I also had my pastor here today, Jared Real, and I'm so excited. He's had a really great impact in my life. So my first compass is the spiritual impact, and he's had a significant impact in my life. Second compass is business. I went to John Brown University, and I went as a pre-med major. You know my dad. They told me I couldn't come back with that major, and I switched to business. My professor, Dr. Gilbert, was my advisor. Dr. Gilbert started his first class with the rules of class. These are business principles that I learned in college and I've carried throughout my life. But he says, you need to show up every day to class. You need to show up on time. You need to tuck your shirt in, son. You need to take your hat off. You need to become prepared. You need to come to learn. If you want an A in my class, 94 to 100 is an A. That's a pretty high standard. I kept in touch with Dr. Gilbert for 35 years until he passed away. Go to see him in his home. I'd go to see him in the nursing home when he was there. When I went to his home, he would take me to his library and say, take a book off my shelf. He'd give me a book every time I could visit. And then he'd say to me, he said, Travis, he said, who are you teaching? Because we're all teaching somebody, you know that. And I would tell him, if I were to see him today, I would say, I'm speaking to the people in Oklahoma Ethics. And he'd take his finger out like this. And he'd look at me and he said, Travis, he says, you tell those people in that room, you tell them today that what they're doing is important because it will impact tomorrow. And that's what I want to tell you. It's important what you're doing. Why you're here today? Because it impacts tomorrow. Was also involved in an executive association called Tulsa Executive Association. 115 of the best business companies in Tulsa, at least we thought they were. I got involved in that in 1980. I stayed there for almost 42 years. Every week we had one of our business owners speak about how to do business well. That gave me guidance and direction. I love that. I want to share with you about a guy named Joshua, sitting right up here in the front. Joshua came to work for me 6 years ago. Joshua was probably the brightest man I've ever met. In fact, I told people, maybe even in this room, that he probably invented AI. Because there's nothing I ask him he doesn't know. But he's also a learner. He comes to these meetings, he listens. How many of you have heard him at the end of a meeting say to the speaker and said, do you have any questions for our speaker? And he has a question. How many of you heard him ask a question? Brilliant questions. Joshua is my successor. Joshua owns our company as of today. Joshua knows what it means to invest in people. And he lives, breathes, and thinks that way. And he's a part of what we've done for the many years in our company. And I just love him so much. He's also very brave. When he came to America in junior high, he didn't know a word of English. He was a missionary kid. He graduated valedictorian in his class. Joshua is a learner. He's a contributor, and he's a teacher. I also want to say that our staff, two of our staff here today, Elizabeth and Bree, fantastic. I believe I have some of the best staff I've ever worked with in my life. They love the people that come through our doors and get released from their jobs. When they're released, they come in our office and they have a friend. They have someone that cares about them. The compassion that our team demonstrates is unbelievable. And I'm so thankful for our staff. The second compass was business. The third compass is this organization. In 2008, I believe Shannon Warren came to my office and said, I'd like you to be on the board of this organization. This is a great organization. I had the opportunity to come and be a part of this board back then. And what's so amazing about this group is that the companies that join this group, because they believe in ethics and the power of ethics in the workplace. And it's so amazing to me that you come not only to these meetings, but you bring your employees. And when you bring your employees, they're learning about ethics. And I think the challenge for you today in this organization is to realize that what you're doing today is important because it impacts tomorrow, just like Dr. Giver said. But I want you to think about the fact that you, each time you come here, each time you come to these meetings, you come as a learner. You come with the idea to learn something that will make you better in your own personal life, as well as in the life of the employees in your office, in your home, in your neighborhoods. That's what this organization is all about. So come today, and come each time you come, with the idea, what can I learn today that will cause ethics to spread across our state? That's what this organization is really all about. And so, when you leave, would you not only take what you've learned, but take it back and share it, and then teach it? Because you're going to find nuggets today. Paula's going to tell us some nuggets today that you're going to take back with you and share it. And that's what this organization is really all about. And that's what I've enjoyed so much about it, is be able to be a part of an organization that really is passionate about ethics. Okay? Now, the three compasses, you guys probably all have your own compasses. Think about that every time in your life. What is it that drives you? And I hope that you find that you are driven to do what this organization is all about, as well as the things myself, the spiritual things you've been taught, and also the business things. I'm so thankful to be here today and thankful for this award today that I feel honored to receive it, and I probably won't be over my time. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day.
thank you for your words, Travis. And as the board president for Oklahoma Ethics, I just want to say that your leadership and guidance over the years of even my involvement with this organization has been extremely influential for me, and I hope that I can carry the torch on. So you have to come back and stay involved with us. I demand it. I have the wonderful privilege to now award our Community Impact Award winner. So Tulsa Dream Center is who was chosen this year for Tulsa. For nearly 25 years, the Tulsa Dream Center has served as a trusted anchor across 2 locations in North and West Tulsa. TDC provides holistic support to children and families through 6 pillars: food, clothing, medical, education, recreation, and housing. Their services include safe and secure housing support, after-school academic tutoring, community food distribution, and Dream League sports mentorship. Tulsa Dream Center operates under the slogan, "Giving Hope, Changing Lives," and exists to break the cycle of poverty, help people find healing, and to change the trajectory of the next generation. In 2025 alone, 1,314,463 meals were served and distributed. 650 students received tutoring, with 92% reading on grade level. That is huge. 1,400 students were instructed with swim safety. Over 5,000 youth participated in structured open gym environments and activities. 1,200 students were mentored through sports. 1,100 individuals were supported through safe and secure housing diversion. 2,800 individuals received clothing assistance. 6,800 volunteers served alongside their team. That is also huge. 2,400 families and 7,700 children were served through the Christmas Mall, and over 546,250 total visits occurred across TDC campuses. TDC is a donor and volunteer-driven organization. Their commitment to leading with integrity, honoring the trust of their community, and serving with humility and courage represents a strong ethical commitment to improving lives. I would like to welcome Tim Newton from the Tulsa Dream Center to the stage to accept this donation in recognition as the 2026 Community Impact Award winners.
Everything that they do is phenomenal. I didn't mean to step in front of you, I'm sorry. They have contributed so much to our community in so many different ways. I think our team who evaluated all of the applications, they just rose to the top. So OK Ethics was able to give a little bit of a donation. We're very thankful to have that from our members and a little plaque. So we are so thankful for them and having them in our community. Job well done.
Really quick, I just want to say thank you to just having the honor to receive this award. And I've had the honor to serve at the Tulsa Dream Center for almost 20 years now. And you know, ethics and trust is really big for us. We always say we want to do what we say and say what we do. And even if it's inconvenience to us. And so we know that we're all about raising our next generation and how we make an impact on them. And we want to be able to instill them not just academics or athletics, but we want to actually also instill them integrity and all the character traits like ethics. And so thank you guys again. And also I just want to say thank you to all of our donors that's here supporting us. We could not do what we do without us. Those are at our table, and even those also in this room. This is definitely a timely donation for us right now in the season we're in the Tulsa Dream Center. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Thea.
Okay, and now without further ado, we have our presentation with Paula Shannon. By the way, Gerald Ford was the president when I was born. Most ethical failures don't begin with the decision to do something wrong. They begin on a typical Wednesday morning. Before I take you back into that Wednesday, Mary asked if I would introduce myself a bit more fully in her opening aloud. And given what I just said to you, the most honest way to do that is to tell you why that line is mine. I learned about Wednesday mornings in my own way. I'm Paula Shannon, executive coach and founder of Whole Leader Lab. You can look me up on LinkedIn for the rest. The degrees, go Irish. I was amazed when I moved to Tulsa at how many Notre Dame alums lived here. I spent nearly 2 decades at the highest levels of urban public education, one of the hardest leadership environments in this country, where I led through crisis after crisis after crisis, was engaged in board governance, regulatory pressures, and large-scale change. The work asked more of me than systems alone could hold. So I built this practice to take what those years taught me about leading at altitude, what it cost and what was required, and to bring it to senior and executive leaders across sectors who want to have a greater impact in this world through the work that they do. Today I coach senior leaders one-on-one, develop executive teams, and work below what I call the waterline, where leadership is built or lost. The routine meetings, the questions that sit in our chests, the decisions that are being made before anyone notices. I'm here today because ethics is core to great leadership, and I deeply care about it and want to be part of contributing to it. So back to that Wednesday, we're at the cabinet table. Peter, our CHRO, is presenting an update on a major HR initiative. I'm nodding, taking notes, and there are questions sitting in the middle of my chest. The initiative was supposed to bring real clarity to how we manage personnel contracts and hiring across the district. And we hired upwards of 2,000 people every year. It was crunch time. Hiring season was approaching. Principals were counting on it. Central office leaders were counting on it. It was genuinely important and significant work. He's presenting. The updates sound optimistic. I knew his team had significant consulting capacity in place. I'd seen all the contracts come across agendas. Real expertise was involved to help move this forward, which made what I was hearing hard to square up with the reports I was getting from the ground. The tension in my body was acute. There were some delays, he explains, but the reasons make sense when you understand how complicated the implementation is. He acknowledges the frustrations that people are experiencing out in schools and quickly explains that it's due to principals not following process, not implementing the new protocols. And I'm sitting there nodding, taking notes, looking calm and composed. But here's what's happening inside of me. On Monday, I had spent time with a group of principals. What they described had nothing to do with new protocols. They were not getting phone calls returned. Offer letters were sitting in queue. Candidates were going cold. They had been on the weekly training calls. They had followed the process. What they were experiencing was silence or mixed messages from the human resources team. So I'm sitting in this cabinet meeting on Wednesday as I replay Monday in my mind. The tension of knowing that what I'm hearing right now and what I heard 48 hours ago are not the same story, and the quieter tension underneath it surfaces. How could things be this behind, this stuck with the capacity that was supposed to exist? And why does he seem a bit defensive? Again, the questions are heavy in my chest, but I don't ask. Here's why. I knew some of these principals had a track record of escalating before they had fully worked through the process. I knew Peter's work was genuinely complicated. I worried I might be wrong about what I was interpreting. I did not want to call my peer out in front of the team without being certain, without being fair. And underneath all of that, honestly, I was afraid of damaging my relationship with him. I worried about the fallout from the discussion that would ensue if I began to ask my questions. I was aware that my questions would likely be interpreted by him as judgment rather than perspective, a lifeline, or some healthy accountability, so I didn't engage. Raise your hand if you've ever had that chatter in your mind. Be a team player. Maybe I don't have the full picture. I don't want to sound like I'm not on board or supportive. I let go of the curiosity the moment demanded. The meeting moved on. I made a mental note to follow up privately. Joining the majority of professionals who sacrifice a minimum of 2.8 hours every week to the mental tax of unvoiced thoughts and the rehearsal of conversations they wish they had in the moment. What I did instead is what I had been doing for months. I managed the fallout, I smoothed things over with principals, I picked up pieces, I filled gaps. I told myself I was being responsible, I was protecting the organization from failure. I stayed comfortable. Looking back, what I missed that Wednesday morning in that meeting wasn't more information, the right questions, or the best timing. What I missed was the willingness to get curious and use my voice with a peer in a team meeting about a situation that impacted everyone. To ask a question from genuine generosity, not judgment. Something as simple as, help me understand what I'm hearing from schools because I want to make sure we're seeing the same picture and solving the same problems. That was the moment. Not a scandal, not a dramatic decision, just a leader sitting in a room, choosing comfort over curiosity, choosing the appearance of fairness over the practice of it. I missed it. Here's what I want you to know. There eventually was a front page story. The full picture of what The full picture of what had been happening underneath took time to surface, and it turned out to be more than any of us had understood in any single Wednesday morning. The front page stories almost never start on the front page. They start on an ordinary Wednesday morning. In typical team meetings, in the small accumulated choices to let our colleague off the hook, to avoid the conflict of necessary debate, to stay in our comfort zone when something in our gut is telling us to get curious. Integrity isn't just about how you respond when the stakes are obvious. It's about what you do in the moments before you know the stakes are high. And most of the time, we don't get a warning. We just get a Wednesday morning and questions sitting in our chest. And that's what we're here to talk about today. Before we go any further, I want to honor the codes already in the room. You're going to learn what those codes are in just a few minutes. But trust me, they're already with us. Some of you want to know the plan. Some of you are ready to move. Some of you are wondering who else in this room is with you. Some of you want to know exactly what we'll cover before you commit to staying for the full time. I see you, all of you, so here's the picture for the next 45 minutes. The big idea is this: integrity is a daily practice. It's built or quietly traded away in the ordinary moments. There are 3 things I want to give you today to make that practice more accessible than it's ever been. First, you will get a tool to know yourself better. You will see what is actually running on you under pressure. That's the inner work. Second, you will get a way to communicate, to connect with others so that you can be heard and more confident in using your voice. That's the relational work. Third, you'll get a strategic skill that makes the 2 applicable in real time under pressure. That's the integrating muscle. Along the way, you'll sort some cards, you'll stand up, you'll talk to the person next to you, and I'll be to the point because I value and respect your time, and I want to leave you with something you can use on your Wednesday mornings. Let's get started with the inner work. Have you ever walked out of a meeting and replayed it for an hour? Said yes when you wanted to say no, stayed silent in a moment that needed your voice, held the line on something you suspected actually wasn't the most important thing anymore, just because you'd already committed to it. That's not a willpower problem, that's a code problem.
The way we respond in those moments, what we do with that question sitting in our chest, that's not random, it's patterned. And the pattern is rooted in something deeper than habit. It's rooted in who we are and what we value most. So before we talk about integrity and drift and everyday courage, I want you to understand something about yourself. I want you to understand your influence code. BANK is a personality framework, but unlike most personality tools, it doesn't just tell you who you are. It tells you your influence code. The values that shape how you are most powerfully influenced and how you tend to influence others. What drives you to say yes, what motivates your decisions, and under pressure, how you tend to show up by default. There are 4 types. Blueprint. Blueprint leaders believe structure is safety. If there's no plan, there's no trust. They're the architects of accountability, the ones who build systems that outlast them. When a blueprint is in the room, things get done right. Blueprints are head types. They tend to orient to the past. That's why it's really hard to convince them to do things differently, particularly if it's working pretty well. Action leaders believe you have to move fast, stand out, and make it count. They are the catalysts, the ones who see opportunity before anyone else and move toward it before others are often ready. When an action's in the room, things get done, and quickly. Action types are body and heart oriented. They look to the future and have great instincts. Nurturing leaders believe people are the greatest assets. Relationships are the foundation. Heart and ethics are non-negotiable. They are human-centered, relational, core to any team. When a nurturing leader is in the room, people feel it. They are heart types and orient to the present. They have great intuition. And knowledge leaders believe you should know everything before you decide and decide with precision. Competence is the highest form of respect. They are the strategic thinkers, the one who see the whole system. When a knowledge is in the room, thinking gets sharper. K's are head types. They're future oriented. So now we're gonna have some fun. On your table, you have an envelope. So grab an envelope. Let me tell you what to do with what's inside. Pull out 4 cards. You're going to take these 4 cards. I just introduced them to you. You're going to read the value sets on these 4 cards. You're going to sort them in order, top to bottom. The card that is most like you goes on top. The one that is next like you goes second, and so forth. The one that is least like you, it doesn't mean the things on that card aren't important to you at times, but it's least resonant for you in terms of who you are all the time. What motivates you? You're going to sort them, top to bottom. Answer honestly, don't overthink it. Don't answer because you think you should say it, or because someone else wants you to be it. Okay, sort your cards, top to bottom. You're already worried about whether or not you're doing it right, and you have 25 questions that you need to ask them to understand the psychometric underpinnings. You're probably okay. I'll help you out. All right, usually takes people about 90 seconds to do this. So take a few minutes, talk to the person next to you if you want. Where did you land? What's your top card? All right, soon as I said have a conversation, I was like, Paula, what did you just do? Okay. Let's see who's in the room. If you are Blueprint, stand up. Look around. Structure is your safety. Planning is how you love people. When you go on family vacations, you have a spreadsheet. You make sure things are done right. The world needs you. I want to say that again. The world needs you. Before you sit down, I want you to hold one question to yourself. When's the last time your standards became a wall instead of a path? Don't answer, just hold that to yourself. You can sit down. If you're an action type, please stand up. Action types are fast movers, opportunity spotters, the ones who were probably already done ranking before everyone else finished reading the cards. You see what's possible. You move toward it. I want you to hold this question privately. When did you say yes too fast and leave your team behind? Okay, you can sit down. All right, if you're a nurturer, please stand up. These are the people who were probably checking on each other during the card sort. They wanted to make sure everybody was okay. You hold the relational center. People feel safer because you're in the room. I want you to hold this one privately. When did your care for the relationship cost the relationship the conversation it actually needed? You can sit down. And finally, all of our knowledge leaders in the room, please stand up. If you were not knowledge, I was going to be surprised. The ones who wanted more information, as I projected before they could commit to a ranking, you're the strategic thinkers. You raise the bar for everyone around you. Hold this question. What do you already know that you haven't said yet because you're afraid you might not be right? You may sit down. Take a look around. Every one of these codes is in the room. And every code is inside you too, just at different levels of intensity. Every one of them brings something essential to ethical leadership. We need the blueprint's commitment to doing things right, the insistence that fairness lives in the systems we build. We need the action's ability to see opportunity and take risks to realize impact. For the nurturers, relationships are foundational, and we need that deep belief that people are the greatest asset at the center of how we lead. And we need the knowledge's insistence on strategic thinking, on evidence, on accuracy. Every one of these codes under pressure also has a shadow. A drift pattern, a way that our greatest strength becomes the very thing that quietly pulls us out of alignment. There's a name for this, I call it code drift. Your code is your superpower, and it can be your kryptonite. The values that make you effective are the same ones that under pressure can pull you quietly out of alignment with your integrity. You don't drift away from your values under pressure. Oftentimes, you drift into an exaggerated version of them. And here's why naming your kryptonite matters. It's how you start to catch yourself before your drift runs you in the room. There's a feeling in the body when your code starts a pulling, a tightening, a move toward default. Psychologists call it being hooked. We'll come back to that word later when we learn what to do once we notice it. For now, just hold this. Recognizing your kryptonite is how you start to feel the hook before it takes over. That awareness is the first move. Let me show you what that looks like. I'm in the passenger seat. We're pulling into the parking lot of a college my youngest is visiting for VIP day. He's been recruited for a football scholarship. And before any of us has unbuckled, he tells us, no coaching today, no advice, no meaning making with me, just be my parents, chill. I was hooked in 2 seconds. If he used that word chill one more time, I wasn't mad, I was hurt. And underneath the hurt, scared. Because somewhere in there was the question every parent of a young adult is going to face. What's my role now? What he was asking for sounded like an exit. 3 codes in that car. My stepson Boone is a KA. Knowledge primary. He wanted space to gather evidence, control for our bias, form his own perspective without our voices in his head. His action wanted to be oppressed, wanted to be treated like a VIP that day. He told us exactly what he needed. My code, NKAB. My nurturing took the request personally. I'm a stepmom. Isn't this the moment to be involved? My knowledge wanted to do the meaning making with him in real time. It's what I do for a living, and I'm really good at it. My wife Nicole's code is NABK, same N as me, but her action is more optimized than mine. She leaned over and said quietly, remember the codes you teach? That's a code drift recovery prompt. Not from me, from the person next to me. I'd love to tell you I caught myself in that moment. The truth is, I caught myself because somebody who knew my code spoke it back to me. Here's what happened on the drive home. Boone told us he wasn't going to take the scholarship, and his reasons were pure K. The coaches let players warm up without attention to form. Feedback from the staff was general. The rigor of the academics, which I loved, far outpaced the rigor of the football program. And he wanted to play football and get better. He saw it clearly because he had the space to look. If I had filled that space with my care and my analysis, he would have been managing me all day instead of evaluating them. The clearest thinking my son did all weekend happened in the silence I almost didn't give him. That's code drift. The values that make me effective, my deep care, my strategic thinking, became the very thing that also robbed my son of his own clarity. My superpower, 2 seconds away from kryptonite, in a parking lot on a Saturday. I want to walk you through what code drift looks like for each of the 4 types. And as I do, listen for yourself. A blueprint under pressure. At your best, you're the architect of accountability. You build systems that will outlast you. You hold high standards for yourself and for others. Organizations need that. It is a gift. Under pressure, the same commitment to doing things right can harden into rigidity. Standards stop being tools and start being tests. The people around you start feeling like they can never quite measure up. The coaching note I come back to for blueprint leaders. Your standards are a gift until they become the measure by which every person is found lacking. When you notice you're hooked, here's the question to sit with. Am I holding this standard to serve the work or to protect myself from uncertainty? That's the recovery question for a blueprint. Not abandoning the standard, examining its function. Action under pressure. At your best, you are the catalyst. You see opportunity before anyone else, and you move toward it quickly, most of the time before those around you are ready. You energize rooms, you inspire teams, You create momentum that organizations desperately need. That is a gift. Under pressure, the same bias toward movement and momentum can become impulsiveness. You can become reactive, image conscious, prone to overlooking follow through. You can dominate conversations and dismiss caution in ways that leave the team behind. When recognition fades, you can disengage from the work that most needs your leadership. The coaching note for actions: your energy is contagious. Your follow through is proof of your leadership. The recovery question to keep in mind: what's the cost of saying yes to this right now? Not slowing down for its own sake, running the decision through a longer time horizon. Nurturing under pressure. At your best, you're the relational and moral center of any team. You build trust and psychological safety naturally. You champion the well-being of the whole. People feel safe, seen, and genuinely supported. That is a gift. Teams need it more than they can often say. Under pressure, that deep care can become conflict avoidance or people-pleasing. You can struggle with difficult feedback, overextend yourself trying to help everyone, and lose your own voice in an effort to keep the peace. You can mistake comfort for kindness and slowly erode the very relationships you're working so hard to protect. The coaching note I come back to with my clients and myself: avoiding a difficult conversation is not protecting the relationship. It might simply be protecting you from an uncomfortable conversation. The recovery question: am I protecting this relationship or slowly eroding it? The nurturer recovery isn't becoming blunt or hard. It's trusting that the relationship is strong enough to hold an honest conversation, that genuine care sometimes sounds like a hard truth said with warmth. I miss that in my Wednesday morning meetings, more times than I can count. I have had to learn the hard way that staying comfortable is not the same as being kind. Knowledge under pressure. At your best, you are the strategic thinker, the intellectually rigorous one who elevates the quality of the thinking in the room. You make well-researched, carefully considered decisions. You see systemic patterns others miss. You raise the bar for evidence of precision. That is a true gift. Under pressure, that commitment to getting it right can become paralysis. You get stuck in the need for more information, more analysis, more certainty before you're willing to move. You can withdraw rather than engage. You can appear arrogant or dismissive at times in ways you genuinely don't intend. You withhold the very insight the room is waiting for because it doesn't feel fully formed yet. The coaching note for knowledge leaders: insight without influence changes nothing. The recovery question: what do I already know that I haven't said yet? Trusting that what you already know is enough to contribute. The moment doesn't always need a perfect answer. Sometimes it just needs your honest thinking offered with humility. Every one of those patterns is understandable, every single one. The blueprint who holds tighter when things feel chaotic. The action who pushes harder when recognition fades. The nurturer who goes quieter when the conversation gets hard. The knowledge who retreats when the pressure to decide before they're ready increases. These are not failures of character. They're human responses to pressure. The drift doesn't happen because we're bad leaders. It happens because we're human leaders. Every type has a gift. Every type has a shadow. And they're connected. What separates the leaders who build lasting trust from the ones who slowly erode it is not the absence of these patterns. It's the willingness to see them, to notice the hook, to ask the recovery question, to choose in that moment to lead from values rather than from fear or comfort. Knowing your own code is the inner work. But integrity isn't just an inside job. It plays out in relationship, in the conversations we have, in the feedback we give, in the way we communicate under pressure when people whose codes are completely different from ours. And this is where it gets interesting. Let me tell you about Beth. Beth had a plan. Beth always had a plan. What is Beth probably? A blueprint. She always has a plan. And she was about to torch a year of her team's trust executing her plan. She came to a coaching session ready. Sharp, principled, data-driven, exactly the leader you want building systems and holding standards. She was going to walk into her next team meeting and refocus them. Take the work to the next level of analytics and evaluation. She was right that the team needed to move there. The destination was correct. The instinct was sound. And it was about to land like a brick. Let's talk about the two approaches Beth can take. Here's the thing about Beth's code. She's a blueprint with strong knowledge right behind it. Her code sees gaps. It builds improvement lists, and it starts there. Beth rarely gave herself affirmation, and without realizing it, she had stopped giving it to her team. She didn't start meetings celebrating wins, even small ones. She didn't need that for herself, so she assumed no one else needed it either. I asked her to walk me through the last few team meetings. What had her team actually been bringing to the table? She paused, and then she said, they've been leading with data, and how they selected organizations to spotlight and how they adjusted initiatives. They'd been making evidence-based decisions. They were already doing the things she planned to instruct them to do. Here's what would have happened if Beth walked into that meeting and delivered her planned message. Her team was mostly nurturing and action types. Nurturing types need to feel seen and valued before they can receive direction. Actions need to know that their momentum and impact have been recognized before they're going to hear what you have to say next. Both need to feel that their efforts landed somewhere before they can open up to improving upon what they have taken the initiative to do. Their initiative needs to be recognized. If Beth had walked in and moved straight to the next level without acknowledging the ground her team had already covered, they wouldn't have experienced it as leadership. They would have experienced it as judgment, as a dismissal of everything they had worked toward. They would have felt unseen and not valued. As an NA team that feels unseen, doesn't lean in. They shut down and they comply without conviction. Beth had walked in with a deficit mindset without realizing it. She was so focused on where they needed to go that she hadn't accounted for how far they had come. She landed on something better. She walked into that meeting and started by naming what she was seeing. The growing discipline her team had built in leading with data. She celebrated the work they had begun, and then she stopped. That was really hard for her. She didn't introduce the next level that day, the next step. She waited a full week. That was really hard for her. She didn't even send an email with 3 bullets in it. When she came back to them, she brought an invitation, not a directive. Here's what we've built together. Here's where we're ready to go next. That was really hard for Beth. It might have been common sense for others. Same data, same destination, 2 completely different team experiences. One of them would have looked like leadership. The other would have been leadership. That's what I mean when I say you can be technically honest and relationally dishonest at the same time. I want to sit with that phrase for a second, because I think most of the ethics conversations we have in our organizations live in the technical lane. Did we follow the policy? Are we compliant? Did we tell the truth on paper? Did we disclose what was required? All of these are necessary. Transparency is very necessary. None of it is sufficient, because every one of us has watched someone be technically honest in a way that broke trust on the team. And every one of us has been on the receiving end of it. I want you to do something quietly with yourself. I'm going to ask you, I'm not going to ask you to share what comes up, or you're not going to discuss it with your partner. So be super honest. This one's between you and you. Bring to mind one conversation, meeting, or decision that will occur in the next 2 weeks. Something on your calendar, something that's already weighing on you, even just a little. Maybe it's a difficult feedback conversation, a moment you need to have with your board, a direct report who needs something from you that you haven't quite figured out how to give them. Something in which you can already feel yourself being hooked and pulled. Think about it. First question. What is your code pulling you to do in that situation? If you're a blueprint, where are you being pulled? If you're in action, where are you being pulled? If you're a nurturer with knowledge. Are you already drafting the email with 5 bullets directing what to be done in your head? Are you rushing to the next thing and being impulsive? Are you trying to avoid it altogether and push it off for another month and hope that nobody notices that it needed to be talked about? Are you going through another round of analysis to delay having the conversation? Second question, widen the frame. What does the person on the other side of that conversation need from you to receive what you are bringing? What do you think their code might be? What do they need? What is the gap between how you are pulled toward engaging versus how that person or team needs you to engage? And third question, what is one thing you could do differently to close that gap? Even by a little. One small move. Not the perfect approach, not the whole strategy. Maybe it's leading with what they've already done before you bring it back to what's next. Maybe it's asking before telling. Maybe it's slowing down before you hit send. Maybe it's having the conversation in the first place. What is the smallest, most workable step you can take? You don't have to share that with anyone, but I want you to notice something. In 2 minutes, you did the work of an entire executive coaching session. You named your default, you read the moment, you identified one workable move. That's what integrity by design looks like in practice. It's small, it's specific, it's repeatable. First, pause and consider your code and your comfort zone. Second, take stock of what the other person's code tells you about what they need. Third, take a small step to close the influence gap. And it's not always easy, because sometimes the relationship does not seem ready to go there yet. Sometimes trust is thin. Sometimes a person across the table is challenging, right? We've all had those moments. The situations are real. And here's what I want you to know about those situations. In my opinion, authenticity has been sold to us as a faucet. Open it, let it run. Whatever is true for you, say it. That's the cultural script that's played out. And I don't think that's right. Authenticity is not the absence of discernment, it is the practice of it. Real authenticity is anchored in your truth and shared with the right people, in the right way, at the right time. It asks more than, is this true? It asks, is this true here now with this person for this purpose? Same question Same question for vulnerability. Discernment is not the opposite of openness. It is what makes openness trustworthy. I call it strategic authenticity. And I want to be careful with that phrase because in a room about ethics, the word strategic and authenticity can sound calculating. I do not mean calculating. I mean considered, discerning, honoring the truth and the moment at the same time. When the relationship does not seem ready to go there yet, strategic authenticity is what keeps you in integrity. You are not performing. You are not withholding from fear. You are being honest about what is yours to share in this room with this person right now. And here's the move, the small step forward taken with care. It deposits trust. The relationship doesn't have to be ready first. The small step is what makes it ready. That's not less honesty, that's more. Here's why it matters for ethics. Communicating to connect is not a soft skill, it is a durable one. It is not just a communication skill, it is an integrity skill. You cannot be honest with someone whose code you cannot hear. You can be technically honest, you can deliver the right message, the right substance, but if it lands in a code that they do not speak, you have broken something even when you thought you were doing it right. Most of the ethics failures I see in organizations are not policy failures, they are code failures. They are moments when someone said the right thing in the wrong code, and the relationship eroded just slightly, and then again, and then again. That's how organizations drift. Not all at once, one miscommunication, one poor engagement at a time. Connection is not what happens after we communicate. It is what we communicate. And presence is the practice that makes it possible. Which leads to the question, how do we lead with that kind of presence when the pressure is on? What are we reacting when we are reacting from our own code? That is the strategic skill that we're going to talk about next. And here's the strategic skill nobody taught us in grad school, and it didn't show up in your company onboarding plan. We have been trained, most of us, to think about that good decisions come from better information, more data, more analysis, more clarity. And in a slower world, maybe that was true. In this world, and the one in which we lead today, we are not bottlenecked by information, we're overwhelmed by it. And this will only increase with time. The leaders who consistently make good decisions in this decade are not the ones with more information. They are the ones who can pause when their code is pulling them and choose what is needed. That is a trainable skill. There's a name for it. It's called emotional agility, developed by Susan David, a psychologist at Harvard Medical School. I'm a trained practitioner in her work. I could talk about it all day, but I won't do that. And what it names changes how I understand what just happened in that workability check you did a moment ago. There's a word for the moment when your kryptonite of your code starts driving, when your emotions or your thoughts take over and start being the authors of you. It's called being hooked. And the hook is not random, it's related to our code. The blueprint tightens, the action pushes, the nurture goes quiet, the knowledge withdraws. We get our agency back when we learn what to do with the hook. There are 3 small moves that bring choice back. None of them takes more than a breath. Show up. Acknowledge what is happening without trying to fix it or move past it. Not brooding in the emotion, not bottling it up and pushing it down, not forcing positivity, just gentle acceptance. That is compassion for the situation, for the people in it, for yourself. You can feel angry and say something is horrible and sit in it without doing anything. Step out, move from being inside the feeling to noticing the feeling, from being inside the jar to stepping out of the jar and reading the label. The small shift creates space, and space opens curiosity. Curiosity creates choice. I go from I am angry to I notice I am angry. That space, world of difference. This allows us to walk our why. Ask what value the moment's pointing toward. What's the anger intention with? Our emotions are signposts. They are showing us where we care. When we explore them, we often find that our values are intention. And from that place, we can respond from values instead of reacting to the hook. Show up, step out, walk your why. 3 small moves, the space between hook and response. Complexity is growing. The pace of change is accelerating. Technology is advancing faster than our ability to make sense of it. In that environment, the most essential leadership work is inner and relational. It is what keeps us connected. It is what keeps us human. This is ethics meeting the moment. And here's why this is strategic leadership. A big part of strategic leadership is doing this for ourselves so that we can lead others in doing it too. And here's what I want you to take from this. Your emotions are not getting in the way of your leadership. They are your leadership data. The question is not whether to feel, it is whether to react or respond. Your code tells you your default. Emotional agility gives you choice, and choice is where integrity lives. We've named 2 kinds of work today. The inner work, knowing your code, noticing your own hook, meeting yourself with gentle acceptance when the pressure is real. The relational work, communicating to connect, discerning what is needed versus what is comfortable, leading with presence. Held together, they are integrity by design. Technology that helps us navigate complexity will not make us more ethical. Artificial intelligence will not make us more ethical. Only the inner and relational work will. And that is when we do it with care and intentionality. You heard those 2 words today, care, intention. We have been practicing both for the last 45 minutes. And here's what I know about the small moments. They compound. Every time you ask the question sitting in your chest instead of going quiet, that builds something. Every time you catch yourself before you react, that builds something. Every time you take one small step toward the relationship that's not quite ready for it, that deposits trust, and that builds something. Every time you choose to respond from values, that builds something. Integrity is forged on the routine Wednesdays, the ordinary meetings, the conversations that do not feel high stakes until they are. Those are the mornings that build the muscles to hold strong when the significant moments arrive. That is why I'm up here today. I'm still learning to ask the question sitting in my chest, and I'm still building the muscle. That's the work, and it does not end. I have a phrase that I've carried in my leadership for a long time. I borrowed it, but it became mine. Clear eyes, full hearts. Clear eyes is the inner work. Seeing reality without flinching from it, catching your own drift before it costs you something, meeting what is there with gentle acceptance instead of avoiding it. Full hearts is the relational work. A heart anchored in your values, the courage to speak someone else's code, in care and discernment when it matters, holding people and performance at the same time. Clear eyes without full hearts breaks connection. Full hearts without clear eyes rescues. Clear eyes is what I almost did not have in the parking lot with my son. Full hearts is what Nicole had, choosing to say something I might not love hearing because she trusted the truth between us was a deposit, not a withdrawal. That is integrity by design. And one last thing. On every table, there's a postcard with a QR code, like this. Tonight, while everything we did today is still alive in you, scan the code. It'll take you to a digital card sort where you can digitally sort your card. Cards, again, takes about 90 seconds, and you can receive a complimentary report that goes deeper into your code than we had time for today. How you were influenced, how you influence others, how your code shows up under pressure. Why tonight? Because Wednesday is coming. Tonight is when you get ready for it. Thank you for being in this room. Thank you for the work you do. Thank you for caring enough about integrity to spend the morning thinking about the small moments that build it. Clear eyes, full hearts. See you on a Wednesday morning. Thanks.